Hey, so I just created a new Sentinel character, and I'm gonna show how to set up the loot filter and some of the basic operations that you're gonna do with it as you're playing through the game to show how this filter actually works. So first, open up your loot filter. You can either go down here to this overflow menu and click loot filter, or there's a hotkey set up. Mine's Shift F. So open this up. You'll get this pop-up. We're going to import a filter, and you can create from scratch if you really want to learn how things work, or you can open up the filter folder if you have a file saved off, but we'll just do clipboard contents. That's the easiest way to do it. So we'll switch out to the guide section of last Epoch, and we'll just search for loot filter. We'll click on the best one, and if we scroll down on the right here, there's the filter to copy. We'll grab all of this, copy it, jump back in game, and then it'll tell us if we have a valid one to import or if we copied wrong or something like that. So we'll just paste. Title is whatever we want to call the filter. I'll just call it Sentinel. We'll select a cool icon, color it, and now we're mostly set up, but there are still some things that we need to do. So first off, we want to hide items that we don't want. So under type, we have it defaulted to none, so you can customize exactly what you don't want to see. So in this case, I don't really have a character concept. Again, I'm not following a build guide or anything. So, however, I do know I don't want any two-handed weapons. I want some kind of one-handed weapon, and I want a shield. So we'll hide all two-handed weapons, and we're going to hide the quiver and offhand catalyst. And we want to see everything else, so we're not going to hide any of that. I'll hit update, and then the main part of it is these colors. So here we have our yellow label, and this is where we want to set all the affixes that we want to see, or all the affixes that we care about. In the beginning of the game, you probably don't have any idea of what you're building towards, so you're going to be like wide open, and then we'll show later what the workflow is to narrow this down as you keep going. So for now, we'll say all attributes, melee, throwing, because I believe Sentinel has some throwing abilities, damage type, general, defense. Again, I'm going shield, so I'm probably going to have quite a bit of these. And if you notice, some of these are already checked. These are the ones that are generally good for any character, so we just default them on just to make this process a little bit quicker for new characters. I probably want potion, health recovery, sure, yeah, why not? And then for these, reflect sounds pretty good, elements, and then I'm just going to select my class specific affixes and the idols. So we'll do Sentinel, Sentinel, and then the rest are okay. This will set up our yellow filter, which means we have at least one of any of those affixes, so it's wide open. Then we want to duplicate this. So we have a total of 5. And now we're going to set up some of the more rarer items, so following the same idea of loot-based games where the different colors mean better and better gear. We're doing the same concept, just with our own definition of what good gear is. So here we'll say that an orange has at least 2 of that set of affixes, whereas a yellow only has 1. So we can follow the same logic, and we'll say a red has 3, and then we want something real bright to stand out, like say pink, if there's 4. Then the last one's the weird one. We're going to select white and go, instead of changing the number of affixes, we're going to filter on the tier of the affixes. So we'll say if it's a tier 6 or 7, so more than or equal to 6, then we'll highlight it white because these are greater affixes, and you're going to want the greater affixes for legendary crafting or for general salvaging. So with all this, we're set. We can start playing. You're not going to have to touch this for a little bit. However, at some point you're playing and let's say you fill out your gear and now you have all your slots filled. You don't need normal items anymore. This is very commonly going to be the first step that you run into. The way to hide all of the normal items is this last filter where it's hide all. Right now we're only hiding Magic Rare Exalted. We can just tick on normal. And because normal has no affixes on it, having hide all normal here will automatically hide all normal no matter what. So that's your primary workflow for your first 2 levels. As you start to build out your build, maybe you have like 2 or 3 skills selected and you're starting to go down those skill trees and you have a better idea of what kind of gear you want, you're going to want to change this affix cool. Because remember, we just selected from the top level a bunch of stuff. We don't know what we want, but we'll say that later on in the game we do know what we want and we want to start to narrow this down. So the way we do that is we start deleting these rules until we're back down to just yellow. Go back into here and we're just going to repeat the same process. So now we can start to hone this in and we'll say maybe we only care about like dexterity and strength, maybe vitality. And then melee, we'll say we don't need stun chance or we don't need these like different elements. But you get the basic idea. Like we just start to narrow these down to like just the ones that we need. So once you do that, we'll just hit update and then we can repeat the same process that we did in the very beginning, where we can duplicate this, and then I'll just go through this time. Set up yellow, set up red, that's our pink, finally do white, and now we're set to continue playing. So that's how you basically change your core affixes, and then again you can do the same thing with like the type. If you know like, oh, I don't want two-handed weapons, I know I'm only playing with one-handed weapons, and now I know that like, oh, I don't need any of these, and I'm not sure if I want an axe or a mace, so I'm just going to keep those 2. Finally, as you get later into the game, you're going to start running into a point where yellow items are worthless. Like, everything you have might already be orange or red, we'll say, or maybe you have a purple or 2. At that point, you don't really have a need for yellow other than for salvaging. But if you try to salvage all the yellows that you're collecting, you're going to run out of money real fast because you're not going to be able to keep up with the cost of the shatter runes. So if you can't keep your gold income high enough, that's your sign to start to either reduce your affix pool to be more specific on what you're looking for, or to start cutting out some of these colors. So again, if we're saying that we have a bunch of yellow and red gear, maybe we don't need this yellow filter anymore, so we can just delete it. And now when we do our filter reset, we delete everything except for this last one, set the affixes, duplicate it, and just continue on just without the concept of a yellow item anymore. And with that, that's everything I wanted to cover, so if you have any questions, just bring them up inside the guide, and thank you, good luck.